Hi, Chestnut Grove. This is Pastor Andy Gathman, continuing our How to Pray series. This is lesson 3, Behind the Mask. If you're finding us on YouTube, you might want to click on the link below, which will take you to our website where you can find some additional resources. Now, part of why this series is so important is that prayer gets to the very heart of what it means to be a Christian and to actually live out what we say we believe about God. It enables us to make our faith real and active in our lives. It's really the ground upon which our faith is built. But if we're honest, I think that for many of us, that's really not been the foundation of our faith. For many of us, it's about holding a particular intellectual perspective, a particular doctrine or dogma. For other of us, it might be about personal habit, going to church every week or even just a few times a year. Maybe it's about keeping alive a cultural legacy, preserving our church as an institution, or making sure that Western society continues to have Judeo-Christian values. Or maybe it's about being able to sort of morally judge and discern what's right and wrong and making sure in our wayward society we're holding to those core values. On their own, I think each of those things is good as far as it goes, but in reality, that's not really the heart of our faith. It enables us to feel like we're doing something for God or participating in something that is near God without actually putting us in danger or giving us the discomfort of actually making that connection with God for ourselves. It's almost as if we're a big fan of a movie star or a pop star, and we listen to all their music or go to see all of their movies, and we're so excited about them and totally interested in everything that they do, but we never actually meet them for ourselves. But if the heart of our faith is really about communion with God through Jesus Christ, then our first order of business is to really take a closer look at how that connection is going in our own lives. And in truth, what we think that connection looks like might not actually be what it really is. And Jesus helps us to see that when he tells a parable about a Pharisee and a tax collector. In Luke chapter 18, verses 9 through 14, Jesus also told this parable to some who trusted in themselves that they were righteous and regarded others with contempt. 2 men went up to the temple to pray, one a Pharisee and one a tax collector. The Pharisee, standing by himself, was praying like this: God, I thank you that I'm not like other people, thieves, cheaters, those who commit adultery, or even like this tax collector. I fast twice a week. I give 1/10 of all my income. But the tax collector, standing far off, would not even look up to heaven, but was beating his breast and saying, God, be merciful to me, a sinner. I tell you, this man went down to his home justified rather than the other. For all who exalt themselves will be humbled, but all who humble themselves will be exalted. I love this parable. It's so easy to understand, even a caveman can do it, like that old commercial. But that's the story. Even a kid could get it. Being justified before God isn't about listing all the things that you've done right for God. Rather, it's about opening yourself honestly to God and seeking God's mercy so that you can have communion with God and be made right with God. I think that means that we should be a community of honest self-assessment, of people who have a humble and a willing authenticity. Now, part of what we see in the tax collector's prayer is a prayer of confession, but it's not really about a litany of naming our sins. It's not about magic words. It's about a heart-level desire for authenticity. And that's something that has to show up in our prayer life. It's something that has to show up in our whole life. It's a heart of transformation and seeking communion with God, regardless of where we are. And so if we're going to build a proper foundation of faith, a proper foundation of prayer, it must begin with a radically honest assessment, something that starts with each and every one of us. We've got to go behind the mask and get real with God. That's why I love the prayer practice, often known as the examen. This prayer of examination is about noticing where in your life your heart is close to God and where it's far from God, where you're actively seeking God and where you're hiding or avoiding God. Because that's the effect of our lack of honesty and the effect of our sin. It disconnects us from God. And so we need to make space to be honest and invite God in to help us examine our life before God. We're going to do that in our prayer practice, the prayer of examination, which you'll find in the next video, and I'll see you there.